We're back here in Extra Rounds for UFC Fight Pass. I'm TJ DeSantis. Please be joined now by Sam Tripoli. We have a common acquaintance, I guess, more than an acquaintance. I think he's near and dear to both of our hearts. But I provide commentary for Eddie Bravo's EBI and combat jiu-jitsu events, and you're doing like the tinfoil hat podcast with Eddie. You're like furthering his stand-up comedy habit. Like, don't you guys have a show coming up, I think, next week?
We just did one.
Okay.
We crushed it. We were in we were in Colusa, California, and Fresno. And I mean, people don't realize how talented Eddie Bravo is.
Oh,
like,
seriously.
He's a 5-tool player, bro. I call him the Mexican Jamie Foxx, dude, because he can do everything world class.
Absolutely, 100%. That's actually one thing I think our crossover doesn't just like begin and end with Eddie. Obviously, everyone at the UFC loves Joe Rogan. You're a guy that's featured on the Joe Rogan Experience. What is it with like stand-up comics and like MMA? Because I feel like they're drawn to one another.
I mean, like, I take Krav Maga, bro. I know how to kill with my hands, man. I've been taking it for a while. I don't know, man. I just like discipline, I guess. Like, either like some comics have no discipline, other comics have tons of discipline, and a lot of comics grew up on Bruce Lee flicks. And like, I love Bruce Lee. I took Jeet Kune Do as a kid, could have gotten a brown belt, but I decided to go on to my prom because I thought the chick I thought she'd put out and I'd finally lose my virginity, and she didn't. She left me at prom and went and banged a 10th grader. So I've let that go. But like, we've had that in our the martial arts has always been in my life. And Joe we're again talking about Eddie being talented. Joe is talented, and I don't know, man. It's just like they just kind of combine, man. And like, every time I meet MMA fighters, I'm always blown away by how nice they are. Right? Like, they're crazy people, but they're so nice because they know they could just kill you if they wanted to. And there's this kind of like release that comes with knowing that you're the baddest dude in the room. And so, with the exception of one, every single MMA fighter I've met has been really kind people.
Oh, you're going to tell me the one, or are we just going to leave it with that?
Josh Koscheck was not the nicest guy. And maybe
I love it. I love it because that's what everyone will say, Sam, about Josh Koscheck. Everybody says it.
It was really weird, man, because he could be a different person, but I met him maybe, I want to say like 12 years ago, I think, at the Palms Casino. I was doing stand-up there, and I met with a buddy of mine named Paul Hughes, and Josh Koscheck was there. And I love The Ultimate Fighter. I always watch it, and so he was there, and I was talking to Paul. He's there, and he was just like going, huh, oh, that's funny, dude. I'm like, are you Cobra Kai-ing me right now? Are you really doing Cobra Kai stuff to me? Is this real life? And maybe he's a nice guy now, but back in the day, he was an interesting dude, to say the least.
I mean, I'm telling you, guys that trained with him at AKA would say, "Oh yeah, Koscheck, he's an asshole."
Right? It's so weird, but everybody else has been really nice, man.
Yeah, no, it's one thing, when you say like those guys can always be kind of the king of the room, if you will. They can press that button at any time, and with great responsibility, or that comes with great responsibility. Because I mean, how many dudes would just love to be alpha and like enforce themselves upon their friends from time to time? MMA fighters get that out of their systems though in the gym. Like, I appreciate that because let's just say I was the guy that was commonly getting picked on back in the day.
I have this theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I always say this: not all clean comics are jerks, but all jerk comics were clean. It's this weird thing, right? And there's something about guys that are super like edgy and dirty on stage are the nicest people off stage, like a Doug Stanhope, Joe Rogan, Nick DePaul, Eddie Bravo, the nicest people, because they get their rage out on the stage.
Yeah.
And then in normal life, but it's the guys who have made super business decisions that seem to be the ones that when I go on the road, I like to go on the road and go, hey man, who's the jerk to work? And they bam, 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 all clean comics.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. It's funny how that works, right? Like we all have to get it out of our system one way or another, right?
One way or another, dude. One way
Yeah.
or another.
Let's talk a little bit about Eddie, because Eddie's a guy who's very near and dear to my heart. He's done amazing things for me in the commentary space, and I've done some podcasting with Eddie. And when he goes down the rabbit hole and tells you to look into things, like 90% of the time, Sam, I think that he's kind of putting on a show for me. But when the conversation's all done and we go our separate ways, I find myself running to Google, because he's convinced me enough that he believes it enough that maybe, just maybe, there's something to any number of conspiracies.
Well, you know what? The guy you're talking to right here, I'll tell you, I call him the Prophet Eddie Bravo, because sometimes, even for me, a guy who has a show called Tinfoil Hat,
right?
Sometimes Eddie goes a little deep and I'm like, I don't know, bro. And then over time, he turns out to be right. So it all depends on your reference, but in Eddie Bravo, we trust. I've learned that. I'm very blessed to call him my best friend, and we tour together. Him, his wife, his sister-in-law, they all changed my life like he's changed your life. So I'm very blessed, and I found that you're better off knowing that somewhere within whatever Eddie's saying, there's some truth, and he's way more right than he is wrong. If he was a baseball player, his batting average would be at least 950. So I trust Eddie Bravo.
He might have an off day and go 9 for 10.
Maybe
right.
an off day, but in these crazy times, Eddie Bravo is the source of truth for me.
That is the one thing that is hard, Sam, because it's like, I want to entertain everything, but if we look into every sort of conspiracy, then we're just going to be busy all day. Like, how do you sort of take the good with the bad when it comes to straight up crackpot theories and other things that might have more truth than the mainstream society wants you to believe they have?
That's a great question. And I always say, question everything, it's free. But then you're like, I'll be so tired. But for me, man, like I always say, conspiracy leads to spirituality, and you find yourself, what are they lying to? And at the end of the day, it kind of gets to that, when you really focus on what you start to realize that so much of it is what they call loose jacking, which is your life energy, and they're just trying to they're energy vampires, man. And once you start realizing, you can get to a place where you realize, I'm not going to pay attention to any of it, and that's a very zen place to get to. And then there's people who, I don't want to pay attention to it. But then you feed into that system. It's a very interesting thing. When you know that what they're doing isn't going to affect you, it's a very zen place to get to, and it's the best place to get to. It's this thing I call easy versus simple, and it's a long conversation, but really quick. Easy versus simple. Easy is, fast food, pop culture, pornography. Simple is, prayers, meditation, working out, getting out in nature, all that stuff. When you focus on simple and you stay away from easy, everything makes sense.
That actually makes sense.
I'm telling you, man, it's like, dude, I'm a knuckle dragger, dick joke comic, former drug addict, former alcoholic, and I'm really spiritual right now, and I've never been happier. And there's light and dark and everything, but I look towards the light. I'm telling you, man, it's the easiest thing. I still have vices. I'm addicted to everything. I'll buy 1,000 domain names if you let me. But so once you start to realize the game that's at foot, it's really easy, man. And it seems like a lot, and then it all becomes crystal clear, dude.
Buying domain names, that's a whole racket, man. Like, I had no idea how much some of these URLs are worth.
Oh yeah, bro, 10,000. I mean, like, real good ones can get you like 5 figures, man.
Yeah, somebody tried. My name's TJ DeSena. Someone tried to sell me tjd.com, and they wanted like $100,000 for it.
Unbelievable. Congratulations on that, though, dude. That means you're doing something right. I mean, some guy got JoeRogan.com, and he's been trying to extort like bazillions of dollars from Joe. And Joe's like, I don't need it anymore.
Yeah, there's a guy that owns tjdesanis.com, and he said he still won't sell it to me. And I'm like,
dude, anytime a new social media app comes, I just grab Sam Tripoli,
right.
wherever I can grab it.
You still got a MySpace account, don't you?
Dude, I was trying to get people together to buy MySpace.
Really?
Oh yeah, dude, because it's valued at 20 mil. Like, who's on there, dude? You get a bunch of people together, you turn into the new like social media.
Hey,
Dude, do you know why MySpace crashed and burned?
no,
Because Tom wouldn't
right?
sell the data to the intelligence agency. So they just went over there and got Facebook. And by the way, the story of Facebook is complete BS. If you're bored, look up something called LifeLog and you'll see the whole story is BS.
Dang.
But yeah, I wanted to buy MySpace and redo it and get it going.
So like we should be thankful of Tom for not selling it, right? Is that what we're saying?
Tom did us right, bro.
Man.
Tom should be all of our friends still.
That's why he's in my top 8 still, Sam.
Yeah, dude, bring back the top 8. That was the best.
Right?
You know okay. You know who ruined MySpace too? Women who would put like songs on their profile page.
Oh, yeah.
So you couldn't creep without your girlfriend finding out.
That's true.
You're like, are you looking at high Asian chicks again? No. And then you're trying to turn it off.
Yeah.
No.
It's like, why is Miley Cyrus randomly playing for the 5th time this week?
Yeah, it's right? Ridiculous, dude. It's ridiculous.
I'm not kidding you. I almost got in a fist fight with a buddy of mine because he wasn't in my top 8.
Really?
Yeah,
that was
not
a
even
big
kidding.
deal back then. That was big deal. You know what's so funny about like MySpace back in the day as a comedian, right? It was like it was acceptable to like try to add as many friends as you can. There were guys who made now with Twitter or Instagram, that's shunned. Like, no, that you don't want fake profile accounts. Back in the day, like Dane Cook, who's I couldn't be happier for all the great things happening in his life. I think he just had all these like these machines just adding everybody on. Him and Tequila were in like a race war.
Yeah.
Where's Tequila right now?
Seriously, I don't know. I
think he's fighting in one of those weird Russian fight leagues now. Have you seen they have the weirdest fights ever?
Dude, like what happens outside of the United States that passes for like high level televised martial arts content? It blows me away.
Crazy, bro.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. They'll have like large chick versus 5 tiny people.
Right. Yeah.
Fight. And then you just
and there's some promotion out there that just has like night fights. They're dressed up in like armor. It's like, what is that?
Oh yeah. Or 400 on 400. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Run in the middle of the field and start swinging.
Yeah, they used to call that war back in the day.
Yeah, right.
You know.
Yeah. That was a Daniel Tosh. Like, how much would you pay to watch war? Like to just go to a stadium and watch war?
Hey, there'd be takers for sure. For sure.
Man, I do Krav Maga, bro, and I watch these UFC fights, and I'm just watching these people take like shots that I would talk about for the rest of my life. My grandchildren.
Seriously.
Hear about dad getting, roundhouse fisted, by some Brazilian dude for the rest of their life.
Like last week, I saw Wonderboy Thompson hit Kevin Holland with a left high kick that he blocked. That was an inconsequential strike for, the overall course of the fight. And if someone kicked me in the head like that, I would literally tell that story every day until the day I died.
The rest of I'm in Krav Maga class. I had to take privates because, the COVID craziness.
Right.
So, but I've had to like start from the beginning class and like, we're just doing our blocks, bro. And like, we're like practicing swings and hitting, and I'm like, and that's just in like white belt trying to get the yellow belt class.
Yeah. What about jiu-jitsu? Are you getting in any 10th Planet jiu-jitsu training with Eddie?
So fun story. I went to Eddie Bravo's first school ever. It was on Santa Monica, and he was hanging out. He just tapped, the Gracie, became the Gracie Killer.
Right.
And I knew Eddie from Comedy Store. So, and I loved him. So me and my buddy, Scott Ross.
I love Scott. I did the first few EBIs with Scott.
Scott and I moved from Las Vegas together. It was a very funny story because Scott had to get out of Vegas, so he moves there real quick. And we had to live in a weekly. I don't know if you've ever heard of,
Oh, sure.
Yeah. We had to live in a weekly together. And one day, while Scott said Starbucks, and we lived off Scott's tips at Starbucks because we were trying to save our money for an apartment. And so we would just go, at the time, McDonald's was having like 10-cent cheeseburgers. So we buy like 1,000 cheeseburgers to live off the week. So one day Scott's at work, and one day there's a knock on the door, and this guy knocks on the door, and I open it, and it's the manager with two big dudes, right? Two
Okay.
big guys. And he's like,
Yeah.
"You gotta go." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "I don't have to tell you." I'm like, "Okay." So we're like loading up my stuff. I'm like, "Why are you kicking me out?" And the big guy's like, "Dude, he's really nice. Tell him why you're kicking him out." And the guy's like, "You're a gay hooker." I go, "What?" He goes, "You're a gay hooker. You walk the streets at night." Well, what was happening was that there was no air conditioning in my place. It got so hot, I would just walk around till I got tired. So I
Right.
threw all my stuff into my car. I drive to see Scott where he's working, and I walk in and I'm crying. I'm like, "They kicked me out. They think I'm a gay hooker, bro." And the whole who was it that was watching? Oh man, there was this celebrity just laughing. So anyway, Scott and I were good friends forever. So
Right.
I take Scott to jujitsu class, and we start taking it. Scott's super flexible. I am not at all. And
Mhm.
I basically peak at tapping Keenan Ivory Waynes. I tap out Keenan Ivory Waynes, one of the head Waynes brother. I say, "Hey, it's never going to get better than this. I have peaked," and I quit. Scott stayed with it another 10 years, got his black belt, now has his own school in Ventura 10th Planet.
Who knew you were like basically the guy that goes out at the right time? Like you walk
Yeah,
away the legend, right?
I'm the legend of jiu. So I love Krav Maga. I want to get back into jiu-jitsu. I can't do like normal workouts, like lifts.
Sure, I
I
get that.
zone out too much. I need somebody yelling at me
Right.
or the threat of being knocked out or choked out for me to focus.
I mean, that seems like a plausible reason to not go do the workout routine that normal people do and go out there and, train how to kill one another.
And by the way, the celebrity was Christian Slater. That's who it was.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. That just makes the story even better.
Yeah.
Sam, what's up next? I know you're doing these shows with Eddie. You got the podcast. You're doing a million things in the comedy space. What can people check out?
I'm thinking about shooting another special. I'm going to call it Weirdo. Just trying to figure out where I'm going to do it. And then just booking more stuff with Eddie. I'm doing I'm very blessed. Like I want to be famous without being famous. I really don't want the Hollywood thing anymore. So I just like to do the road and do some sets and see what I'm creating a comic book, a conspiracy comic book for children, that adults can enjoy and read to their kids. And that's about it, man. Trying to I have an independent movie studio I'm working with, trying to get some indie comedies, old school comedies back. And that's about it, man. And just blessed, loving life, having two kids. My daughter's names are Ghost and Ninja, and I love them very much. And just trying to be a dad.
That's awesome, Sam. I mean, that's the American dream right there, in my opinion.
For sure, dude. It's the blessings, Who knows? I used to be a crazy person, and now I'm just a chill person and just enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get it out of your system. We talked about that at the top of the show. Just got to get it out of your system.
Hell yeah.
All right, Sam. I appreciate it. It was nice getting to know you a little bit. And
I appreciate it anytime. Very excited about the pay-per-view coming up. Very excited about the UFC. I think the UFC's been putting out really great cards, man. A lot of great striking. I love, you got somebody from Dagestan taking on a guy from Poland. I think that's the beauty of the UFC, is that we get to see people from all over the world go at it. Who's king of the hill? Is it the Dagestanis? Is it the Brazilians? The Americans? Like there's this fun, weird cycle that happens right now. Dagestanis are king. And for me, I always like reach and ground skills are the two most important things when I'm taking bets and when I'm trying to make bets on fights. So
nice, Sam. Well, hopefully we got to get you out to Cancun sometime for one of these, combat jiu-jitsu shows with Eddie and
I would
Master
love
Vic.
that, bro. I love Eddie Bravo. The prophet Eddie Bravo's got an empire. He deserves it. He's the nicest guy and just a class act, dude.
As are you, Sam. Appreciate the time. Happy holidays, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
Hey, enjoy your shady hotel.